This podcast is a proud member of the Unidentified Network.
Police in Las Vegas found themselves in the middle of a UFO mystery last month after
To us, big eyes. They have big eyes.
911, what are you reporting?
We got someone or something crawling around out here.
Did you see what it was? Was it a person or an animal? Or?
One of my partners said they saw something fall out of the tattoo, so that's why I'm kind of curious.
What sign? I don't know.
Do you see him now, sir?
Yes, I'm looking right at him.
Okay, hang on.
He's right.
Is he in your yard, sir?
Yeah, God, he's big.
Okay, what's he doing in your yard?
Mythical Legends Podcast with your host Daniel Barnett.
And welcome back, guys, to the Mythical Legends Podcast. So glad to be back and happy Sunday. How are you now?
I am really good, thank you. Yeah, all good your end?
Very, very tired and a very, very busy day. That's what I'll say.
Yeah.
So we have an amazing guest here today, don't we now?
We do, yeah. Lovely man that we met quite recently. Helped us out no end recently.
So some of you guys may know who this man is. If you came to the Cryptid Conference UK, you will definitely know him. He was next to my booth, and it was great to have him there. And I found his talk quite interesting. So let's bring him on and let's have a brilliant chat. So please welcome to the stage, Mr. Steve Ryder.
Hello.
Hey, hiya.
How are you, Steve?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. You guys?
Yeah, all good. Yeah.
Very, very, very well, yes. So, right, I'm going to dive straight in and start with, how did you find the Cryptid Conference UK?
I have to say, I've not been to a conference in a while, but that one was just superb. Not just for the lineup of speakers, but just talking to people. It was superb. It was just like being part of a lovely community all over again. So yeah, it was a fantastic day.
Excellent. Well, we were just so pleased that you came because you helped us out no end that day. You were sort of a
lifesaver.
A lifesaver, literally, that day. Yes,
yeah.
Yes. We had so many things. The conference was amazing. We were so pleased with it, but so many things had gone wrong in the days and hours leading up to it. We were in panic mode. So we were very, very grateful to you, Steve.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I know, it was pleasure.
Cool. So, moving to your talk at the conference then, what was the inspiration to your talk, Steve?
So, I won't go into it too much because it will take too much time up, but over the years I've been involved in a lot of paranormal research, and aside from that research, I have an interest in photography as well, and it always fascinated me during sort of live investigations. One of the things I did was to take people out to like haunted locations and stuff like this, and it always fascinated me on how people would take photos and use their smartphones to record things and see things that really weren't there. So it was that and the mixture of the two that sort of got me into looking into photographs, how things could be faked and manipulated and stuff to make them look what they are, and try and inform people of how to look out for different things when they're doing their own sort of investigations. And it doesn't just sit with ghosts and UFOs and stuff. It goes to any subject you can literally think of. So that's kind of how I got into that part.
Wow, yeah, fascinating.
That's very interesting that you were interested in photography as well. I find that really interesting. So kind of from going from talks to the people you met, how did you find the overall conference? So kind of is there anything you liked in particular, or?
No, it was, to be honest, every talk was fascinating. From start to finish, it was incredible, because it gave me a bit of a boost in remembering things and subjects that I hadn't really touched on a lot, because my last conference was actually for John Downs at his last ever Weird Weekend, back in 2016. So it was a long time, in between conferences. But yeah, it listening, especially to the stuff, obviously the cryptid stuff, it really, gave me that sort of impetus to look into it, and to sort of research all the stuff that I've missed in the years that I've not really looked into it that much. Yeah, I've seen some of the new videos, bits and bobs that have popped up on YouTube and stuff like that. But listening to the people talk about not just the US stuff but the UK stuff, it really sort of got that sort of fire started again and rekindled. So yeah, it was just fascinating the whole day. I couldn't get enough, to be honest.
Oh, that's great. I'm really pleased that you got stuff out of it as well. I mean, we all did. We were just enthralled listening to you. It was great. But I'm so pleased that you got stuff out of it as well. Lovely, isn't it? When you've got different people, different subjects, and yet it all seems they all mingle in some way.
And kind of link together, I think the word though.
Just yeah. You don't have to have a certain subject and that's it, do you? It sort of merges into one often. It was a good
so
day.
it was a brilliant day. And just before I move on, I'll say thank you to everyone who came to the Cryptid Conference and was involved and had a hand in helping. It was amazing to kind of put that all together, and everyone who helped set up on the Friday was brilliant. So it was wonderful to have you all there. So to move on now, Steve. So have you ever had a cryptid encounter or experience? And that is everything from Bigfoot to ghosts, UFOs, and all
that. I've never had a cryptid experience in the sense of an out of place animal, whatever you want to call it. But I've been to places where these things have happened. My personal experiences lie with more ghosts, UFOs, on that side of thing. I would love to detail some of those more, but it would simply take up too much time. But I've experienced things like having objects sort of thrown out of the darkness towards you. In one particular case, it was coins. We were on an investigation and somebody decided to throw a coin into the darkness, which was promptly thrown back at us. Not in a dangerous way, but just like you would do if you were sort of throwing things to each other's feet, that sort of thing. And I've seen some more personal things, really close to me, but yeah, like I say, it's going to be difficult. But I think I got to the point where after seeing some things, I got to a point where it was like, I don't need any more convincing of, you know, that there are ghosts out there, that there are things flying around in the sky that we can't explain. It was, yeah, I've done it. I've seen these things. I don't need any more convincing. So, you know, life took over, and it was coming back to the conference and listening to all the cryptid reports, you know, Bigfoot in the US, you know, what you've done, Daniel, and you know, the other UK stuff that we heard on the day. I mean, it really kind of fired me up to think, you know, hang on, this is an avenue I've not really gone that deep into. You know, so it was like, yeah, this has got me really interested. So yeah, I've started to get my teeth into some more of this stuff now.
Excellent.
Wow. So going back to kind of your experience then, what was it like having stuff thrown at you? What was going through your head?
Oh, it's really interesting because you're not expecting it. So when something happens, it's kind of, okay, that's you know, that's really interesting. I would say it makes you jump, and in some situations it does. When you see these things, I think one of the most interesting kind of things that's happened was we were on one investigation, and we had an infrared camera set up in a locked corridor that had a lot of activity. So we had this sensor at one end, and then an infrared camera at the other end of the corridor. And as my group was just about to leave, we heard a bang. And because I was the only investigator left, it was my turn to go and check the corridor. So I unlocked the door and went in, and there was this sensor lying about 15 foot up the corridor. And when we reviewed the footage afterwards, you can see that this infrared sensor is kind of sat on a pile of chairs, and as it moves not as if somebody would just knock it off or fall off. It actually moves in an arc, so it's like somebody had their hand behind it and actually
Whoa.
off.
That's a bit creepy.
Whoa, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I was literally stood about 10 foot from the door when this thing happened. So I know that nobody had gone in and out the corridor. It was completely locked off. There was nobody there. And it was just like, okay, no idea what happened there. I can't explain that.
Gosh.
And it's just one of the few things that I've experienced that I have no explanation for.
Wow, that is remarkable, I'd say. And so it's a lot of people come up with or not come up with, they've seen these things. Now it's experiences like yours where it actually makes you question stuff. You go, okay then, hold on, this can't be right. There's got to be something going on. And it's when people then reach over and go, oh, I stepped in the portal, I pull back and go, oh, okay. But it's those really kind of interesting encounters that I go, okay, so maybe actually something happened and something was there. Now, I'm not in the paranormal world at all, but these stories are actually making me more interested. What about you, ma'am?
Yeah, I think it is. When you hear these, you know, whatever you believe or you think you believe, the more stories you hear from all these incredible people, you start to just think, well, what if? One little query leads to another and another. You hear more and more people it's like everybody we've talked to has had some kind of experience of something. So maybe the really far-fetched things, is it so far-fetched after all? I think there's so much we don't know, and it's only a few people that actually get to experience it. And I think this is what makes it, we're getting together now, this age of technology and podcasts and grouping together, we're all getting together and we're sharing all this info. So I think it's just a way forward. More and more people are opening up their minds to the possibilities of it. It can only be a good thing.
It's sharing, it's networking, and it's sharing the info. And me personally, I think the more people can come together and work as a team, the more answers we're gonna get.
Yeah.
Because at the moment we got so many different. We got so many different kind of people that are out there who have actually had credible encounters. So bring them together to try and find something out. But I'm really intrigued by that, Steve, and that's really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, so, I'd love to at some point do talk more on these, and I know I've had a couple of offers of other podcasts, so I might get to talk about these things. But you see on movies, people talk about cold spots and stuff like that, and I've experienced cold spots, I've experienced hot spots, and
physically. So is that like you're literally okay, and then you physically feel cold, or the air around you feels cold?
Yeah, absolutely. It is like people say. There is it's strange. It's difficult to properly articulate in words, to be honest. But it's like there, it's completely warm. It's normal room temperature, and you can move your hand just a couple of centimeters, and all of a sudden you've got half your hand is freezing cold, and the other hand is perfectly fine. It's weird.
You're making me just saying it.
But I've got to say, it's these types of encounters that I'm really interested in. So to everyone listening now, if you have an encounter that is exactly like Steve's, or even something else, please contact us, because we these are the type of stories that we love to hear. So myself and Man would love to kind of talk to you about these experiences. Am I right now?
Absolutely, of course. Yeah.
So
the more the merrier.
Right, so guys, we can take a very short break. Get ready to laugh, Steve, because this is going to be funny. The advert's coming, guys, and you know exactly what's coming. And we'll see you after the break.
For half an hour on Saturday afternoons and for a quarter of an hour on Wednesday evenings, the world's only show about hard science, weird shit and surreality. And it's co-presented by an anthropomorphic chicken. Be there or be square.
Oh dear.
Can't watch
There's
it.
John.
It's just.
There's John. There he is.
That's our lovely John. Yeah.
And he is really like that in real life. So
he is, isn't he? I was actually on the phone to him about 25 minutes before this podcast, and he went, "What's up?" I'm like, I just called that, and he's just so kind of, what's the word for it? Old-fashioned English, I'll say. It's just so.
I don't think there is a word for John.
there isn't a word that just describes him. It is there. It's
he's unique. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So, moving right on then, Steve. What was your inspiration to this topic? So, how did you get into the cryptozoology world?
Oh, crikey. I think it's one of those things that just came along with my interest in the paranormal, really. I mean, I can go right back to when I was a youngster, and you know, I had books on, you know, ghosts and UFOs and monsters, as they were kind of termed back then. The word cryptid didn't come along for a while. It was like, you know, and I remember back, I guess it must have been sort of early 80s, when some of the talks about sort of big cats began to really filter through into the mainstream. And that kind of got me really sort of interested, because I would, you know, at that time in Southampton, where I was born and raised, there was still a lot of old derelict parts of Southampton where there was still a lot of, you know, empty spots from during the Second World War, where places have been bombed out. And whenever you were going through these little places, or I had a huge valley in front of where I lived, you'd always think, oh, you know, this is just the sort of place where something, you know, might sort of pop up. And so I really began to get interested in, you know, big cats, and then obviously Bigfoot and all the rest of it. So it really became a kind of a sideline, being interested in these other things, and I just couldn't get enough of anything that was, you know, weird or something, whatever you want to call it. I just got sort of interested in all of it, and I couldn't get enough of it. I mean, yeah, I did concentrate on sort of, you know, the ghost and UFO side of things, but you know, anything that was, you know, sort of a bit 4T was great stuff. And I collected books and odds and ends. I was even in my even younger days. We used to go holidaying in Dorset, and we actually had an experience in the caravan. It was in an August, and it's actually documented in a book. But there was a heavy rainstorm and a fall of grass and clods of earth and things. And we were actually in, I think it was Brockley Sands Holiday Park in. Was it?
I know.
We stepped outside the caravan, and there was all these things, grass and clods of earth, all falling from the sky. So yeah, you know, things like that really sort of were the thing that piqued my interest and led on to the cryptid side of things.
I think the world's ending.
Oh.
I think that's my answer for that. I don't read now, but when I pass that to you, because I'm speechless.
No, I have no explanation. I know that part of the world. I mean, Steve, you live fairly close to us, don't you? So, you know, we used to holiday down at those sort of places as well. It's hard to imagine anything like that happening here. I think we always think of these strange encounters happening in somewhere else, America, certainly, all sorts of things. And you like go, you know, yeah, really? But then when you say it, and it was literally just a few miles down the road.
Yeah, I
hadn't heard of it, though. I must admit that had passed me by. I hadn't heard of
yeah,
that.
I'll have to look the book out and find the actual date.
Wow.
But,
that is remarkable, though, isn't it? Grass and that falling from the sky.
Just incredible.
Yeah, I mean, you hear of strange falls. You know, you hear of the frogs falling and the fish and stuff like that. You know, there's loads of stuff that's fallen out of the sky. But to actually have experienced it, it's one of those things that just kept fueling my interest.
Of course, yeah.
Oh, good God, that's don't even want to think about it, because that's That is like the world's ending. So my next question for you, Steve, is so let's say we found proof of UFOs, or we found proof of Bigfoot, or we found proof of ghosts. Do you reckon that would destroy the mystery and it would just become another real thing, or do you think everyone would give up that research, or what do you think?
Yeah, that's a good question. Because I think how we would react to the facts would depend on the subject matter. I think, if it was a cryptid, let's say, if it were, from anything from big cats to Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Yeti, I think that in that case, knowing that these things existed would actually, and I'm sure other people got other ideas on this, but it would actually threaten their existence in a way.
Yes.
Because anything that humans don't get, or anything that's
threatens or
big and
scares
threatening,
yeah,
we have a tendency to hunt them and make them extinct.
Yeah. Shoot first, ask questions later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that knowing the truth, and I'm fairly sure this came up at the conference, that people have often said that if they had proof, they're less likely to share it in the public domain, but just amongst the people that have their heads on, are not going to blow this all out, because suddenly you'll have people inundating certain places, going in and with cameras and probably guns and whatever, trying to hunt these things down and capture them and all the rest of it. So I think we have to be very careful how we look at the proof. I mean, finding proof of ghosts has probably already been and gone, and I think the same could be said for UFOs as well. There's a lot more proof of that coming out, and it's probably being dribbled out for a reason. But I think that when it comes to the cryptid side of things, we have to be very careful that we don't, out there, we don't tell people where these animals are living for save them, save their own
safety.
And I think, I completely agree with you, and I think if we go out there and say Bigfoot has been proven, I reckon within a shot you'd have thousands of people out in the forest with these, and they'll be the first one to find a body, and it'll be like, oh look, it will be the hunt.
Yeah, they would want to find them for all the wrong reasons, and that's you don't want.
And that's why at the moment we have things like the Olympic Project and that trying to protect these creatures as well as trying to find them. All of us, we're here to research these creatures and research all of it and research paranormal, and that's what we're all here to do. And I think part of our job is to protect these as well, because otherwise, if we prove, I guarantee, if we prove the existence of Bigfoot, the whole world's going to go mad, absolutely mad, which is possibly why we haven't. Just putting that out there for another conversation for another day. But I would completely agree with you. What about you now?
Yeah, totally. Yes. Yeah, I think it's a danger, isn't it? You've got to be very careful what you wish for, haven't you? We're all out there searching, but I think more so now, people have realised that we're searching for the knowledge not necessarily to prove to anyone, because people that are certain and have knowledge don't need to prove it to the world. You're quite happy knowing yourself that that's what it is. You don't want the wrong side of people to know it.
Although there are some wrong side people in this community, which is why we still have to be very, very careful. Right, moving on to my final question, Steve, and this is the one that stumps me personally, because we know how to go out and look for Bigfoot. We have equipment to go out and look for ghosts, look for big cats, look all for this. But one that I don't know is what equipment would you suggest? What equipment would you suggest taking out with you if you were going UFO hunting or looking?
It's another great question, because a few years ago I would have said, and some of these still stand. So if you're going out at night, I would suggest obviously a decent torch for a start. If you can afford it, things like image intensifiers, night vision, stuff like that. Camera, obviously, is a must. And whilst your smartphone is great, I still suggest a fairly good digital DSLR type of thing, solely because the types of lenses and stuff you can interchange gives you a lot of more range to take decent photographs. And obviously digital cameras come with timestamps and all the rest of it, and metadata that's difficult to to fake. It can be done, but it's difficult. Then you can go on to things like tri-field meters. I'm trying to think. I've used so many different things. If you're out in the open air, I suggest as well something like stuff that checks the atmosphere. So light meters, moisture meters, things like that. You can get like an all-in-one environmental field meter, and I've got one somewhere that does light and moisture and sound, all that sort of thing. But I would say that the two most important things is, one is a camera, and two is yourself. Those are the two critical things, because you are the one that's out there. You're the one that's experiencing this stuff. You're looking around, you're listening. A lot of the time that's the best indicator is your own eyes and ears. And sometimes you can experience stuff that isn't measurable. I've been out with all these technical gadgets, and often the best thing is you, because there are things beyond what these things can measure that you can experience yourself. And for me, that's been the most amazing thing, because I've experienced things that I simply can't explain just by being me and being there in the moment. So yeah, I mean, by all means, use all the gadgets. They're great for checking, things like tri-field meters and things like that. They're great for measuring stuff that's going on around you, that you can find out where there's electric cables and stuff like that, where you might be getting magnetic interference and electromagnetic interference and stuff like that. It's great for that. I mean, some of the ones we've even used for communicating with spirits, shall I say. things like K2 meters and stuff like that. They're hypersensitive, but we actually used them for asking questions with some really interesting results, to be honest. But yeah, you use them all, but don't rely on them.
Yes, yeah, good advice. Yeah,
you do need them. I mean, obviously, for the scientific side of things, you need to have this data if you can get it, you know. But yeah, I would say trust yourself as well. Don't second guess yourself.
Yeah.
Wow. And so I think that's brilliant advice there. I think to everyone out there, you need to listen to that advice, because that is some brilliant words there. Don't you think, Nam?
Definitely, yes. Yeah, it's pretty similar to what we've been told, isn't it, over the last couple of years? And patience, I think. We were taught, you know, sit, listen, absorb, just and enjoy what you're doing. I think that's got to be.
If you don't enjoy it, then it's not worth it. So, Steve, mate, I have enjoyed this podcast so much, and it's been very, very, very intriguing. And do you think, Nam?
Definitely, yeah. It was good to catch up with you again, Steve. Really
wonderful to have you on. So to everyone out there, I am going to wrap this up now, and I want to give a massive thank you to Steve Ryder, and a massive thank you to him for the conference. You were a lifesaver, honestly. So to everyone out there, don't forget to like and subscribe this episode and watch our other episodes, and don't forget to visit the Mythical Legends website at www.mythicallegends.co.uk and visit our Facebook group, Mythical Legends My Bigfoot Life. So guys, we really enjoyed this podcast. We will see you in the next podcast. Keep searching, stay mythical, and we'll see you soon. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for listening to the Mythical Legends podcast. For more information, check out our Facebook group. The truth is out there.